Now, thousands of people are expected to attend a pro-choice rally in Dublin this afternoon, calling for a change to Ireland's abortion laws. Pro-life campaigners have already marched through the city, urging the government to protect the current restrictions on termination. The country's abortion laws are the most restrictive in Western Europe, with the UN criticising them as cruel and inhumane. With a date now in sight for a referendum, campaigning on both sides is set to intensify. But is Ireland ready for a vote on abortion rights? Well, joining us now to discuss this from Dublin is the pro-choice campaigner Fiona Ryan and the pro-life campaigner Cora Sherlock. Many thanks to both of you for being with us. Cora, to you first. This is clearly an issue which has occupied the attention of those in the public space in Ireland for quite some time. A referendum is now on the horizon. Is this the right time for the issue to be put to bed one way or another?
Well, I think it's always very strange when we talk about the issue being put to bed. I know that it's a phrase that comes up, but really what we're talking about when we're talking about abortion is ending human life, ending the life of a baby in the womb. And there isn't support for what pro-choice campaigners who will be marching today are looking for, which is abortion on wide-ranging grounds. And that's why the pro-life campaign has volunteers, and a huge number of volunteers out in 20 locations around the country today, really putting aside that idea that the baby in the womb is not as human as the rest of us. This is a human being whose life begins at fertilization, whose heart starts beating at 3 weeks. The baby has eyes, a nose, a mouth at just 6 weeks in the womb. The organs are developing at 8 weeks. I think it's very disturbing that that life would be put on the line in the way that the pro-choice movement wants to see it.
Fiona Ryan, to you. In terms of where the population of Ireland is at the moment, I mean, have attitudes shifted? Is this referendum being proposed by Leo Varadkar, is that simply a reaction to a change in public sentiment, or is he just wanting to appease some within his own party?
Oh, I think it absolutely is a reaction to the enormous pressure that's been brought to bear on the political establishment in Ireland to win not just spare change, but real change on the issue of abortion rights. It's been 34 years since the 8th Amendment has been passed, and since then, and as of today, not a single woman or pregnant person of childbearing age has ever had the right to vote on this issue that controls absolutely every single one of our bodies. And today, tens of thousands of people will march for choice, not for minimal legislation to follow a potential referendum, not any solution that will still consign thousands of women to be exported abroad to England and Wales every year to access safe abortion services. And I think, like with the marriage equality referendum, where you saw this sea tide in change in public opinion in relation to issues of social and economic inequality, I think we're seeing now the fruits of decades of campaigning. But most importantly, there will be thousands of young people marching today, people who have never been political in their lives, who see this issue as a matter of human rights. The abortion regime in Ireland is nothing short of torture. And I think the disgraceful cases that have come about in Ireland over the last few years in particular are a key example of that.
Cora, Leo Varadkar has in the past been on record as making it pretty clear that he's pro-life, but even his views have changed somewhat. He suggests, fatal fetal abnormality, risk to the woman. Those in and of themselves should be looked at in terms of permissible abortion. One presumes you disagree with that.
I think that there is a suggestion in the debate in Ireland at the moment that you can be pro-life but want a little bit of abortion. In reality, as we know from looking around the world, there's no such thing as a little bit of abortion. There's no such thing as restrictive abortion. Once you undermine protection for some babies in the womb, what you're really saying is that all babies in the womb are not entitled to the same protection as the rest of us. I mean, Fiona talked there about economic issues. The abortion issue is very much a class issue, because if the pro-choice campaigners have their way and remove the 8th Amendment, what we would see in Ireland is a system of two classes. All of us who are born would be entitled to the human rights protection that the Constitution guarantees us, but babies in the womb who are just as human as the rest of us would become second-class citizens. And I think that that's very troubling. She also mentioned torture, but obviously the pro-choice movement in Ireland refuses to acknowledge something that is happening around the world, where babies are born alive and left to die after so-called botched abortions. This happened to 66 babies in 1 year alone in the UK. It happens throughout the world, and it's not being addressed by international human rights groups like the UN Human Rights Committee, which chooses to castigate Ireland for our pro-life laws. I think it's interesting as well, and it's worth making the point that yes, the Eighth Amendment has been there for 34 years, but during that time it has saved tens of thousands of lives. So it has certainly saved at least as many as will march today, and most likely many more than that.
Fiona, I just want to give you the opportunity to come back on that, but when you do, I mean, what is the nature of Ireland's relationship with the abortion question? How much is that defined by Ireland's relationship with religion?
Well, first, I just want to reference a point that Cora made, that the issue of the Eighth Amendment is a class issue. And actually, I agree entirely with Cora on that regard. Abortion is a class issue in Ireland. However, if you are wealthy enough to be able to afford the thousands of euro to travel to England and Wales, you can access a safe abortion and safe abortion services. It is the women who cannot afford that, working class women, migrant women, asylum seekers. These are the women that are criminalised by the Eighth Amendment. Those who are increasingly importing abortion pills from organisations such as Women on Web, a Dutch-based doctors' organisation that connects abortion services to women in countries where abortion is banned. But these women are the ones that face up to a 14-year prison sentence under the current legislation, the Protection of Life During Pregnancy Act. So absolutely, abortion is a class issue, but is one that that abandons the most economically vulnerable in our society. And moving on about the connection of the issue of abortion and religion, I think that as the marriage equality referendum showed, Ireland's relationship to religion has profoundly changed. Young people in particular, more and more often, are striving for a more secular and progressive society. And actually the issue of choice in this march today isn't just about abortion. It's about winning back our state services from the control of the church. Our hospital systems are still almost entirely run by the church. Our education system is almost entirely run by the church. Our sexual education is completely random and at the behest of whatever the school board decides, and that can be to the detriment of young people as well. So I think that Ireland is ready for change, and that's why we've been fighting to get this issue to be put to the people, because I am absolutely certain that we can win this, and it won't be won by any benevolence from the political establishment granting it to us. It will be won by young people, by women, by LGBTQ activists going to the streets, demanding change and winning people over along with us at the same time.
Cora, just to you finally, in terms of the point just made by Fiona, the idea that, you know, there are hundreds, thousands of women in Ireland who want to have an abortion. There are some of that number who are able to afford an abortion. Those that can't either have to seek some back alley solution or simply move on with their lives. But how do you deal with that problem within the parameters of a legal framework?
I think how we deal with women and how we support women who are facing unplanned pregnancies is never to say to them, the best thing for you to do is to end the life of your baby. That's the first thing. I would also say that when Fiona, and I'm sure we'll hear from the marchers today and from the speakers, they claim to speak for all of the women who travel, I can tell her that there are many women involved in the pro-life movement who themselves travelled, and they deeply regret their abortion. They deeply grieve the loss of their baby. I mean, these are people who say that on the day that their baby would have been born, they marked that day, they've named their baby, they seek a connection with the baby that they lost from their lives. And I think that what we should be doing in this country, I would really welcome a day when people would march not for abortion and not feel the need to march so that people wouldn't bring in abortion, but instead we would look at how to support those women and how to provide financial structures, childcare, whatever those people need, so that they don't feel that ending the life of their child is something positive, because we don't say that that's something positive in any other area of life. I would also say as well that, you know, the whole area of criminalisation is really a red herring that's brought up by the pro-choice movement, because they know that no woman has ever been prosecuted for an abortion in this country, and no woman ever would be. And that is not something that the pro-life movement in this country supports in any way. I think sometimes it's brought up because they don't want to talk about other issues, the things that I've talked about, the fact that babies survive abortions and are left to die, the fact that Ireland's abortion rate is so much lower than other countries, thanks to the Eighth Amendment. The fact that people are alive in Ireland because of the Eighth Amendment, the fact that we support people who have disabilities, unlike in the UK, where abortion is available right up to birth if a baby is diagnosed with a disability. This is not what we want to see happening in Ireland. And I think the most important thing for people today who are seeing the people marching on the streets of Ireland is to remember that there is no such thing as restrictive abortion. There is no real consensus in terms of time limits from the pro-choice campaign in Ireland. They just pluck time limits out of the air. It seems some of them want abortion up to 12 weeks, some of them want it up to 18 weeks, some of them want it up to birth. Ultimately, what it would boil down to is the same thing. Any interference with the Eighth Amendment, whether it's repeal, removal or interference with the words, would leave us with a situation where abortion is available on wide-ranging grounds, and that can only be a bad thing for babies, and it can also only be a bad thing for women.
Cora Sherlock, Fiona Ryan, many thanks to both of you for being with us. We appreciate it.